Thank you very much, Kathy. And now we hear from Ron Kaye. Ron Kaye, what's the appropriate title for you? I'm trying to figure one out.
Kaye, I think.
Just Ron Kaye, okay.
For better or worse. I'm not sure why I'm here, but I know why I'm last. I'm no expert in campaign finance. I'm a retired newspaperman who blogs on the internet and is trying to recreate journalism on the internet. I agree with everything everybody said, but they completely ducked the problem. As far as I can see, the American people have lost confidence in the government in Washington, Californians in Sacramento, and people of Los Angeles in this august body that calls City Hall its home. They failed us. Money has overwhelmed them from every kind of special interest. Rather than just being corrupt, which certainly the political system is corrupt, they're more hostages of it than they are perpetrators. I don't know very much about anything outside the city limits of Los Angeles, but I've been involved in LA for 30 years and seen the birth of democracy from a city where power was always held by narrow groups. The Chandler family, the Committee of 25, with Tom Bradley's election, what I parody as the Committee of 225, the political apparatus of operatives, lobbyists, consultants, PR people, of unions and special interests and the like. If you look at the most recent city elections, where 13% of the people are voting in city council elections, where the incumbents have 20, 30, 40%, 40 times as much money as any ordinary citizen walking up, where they can barrage and overwhelm the person. As a journalist coming in, you come into the Daily News, you want to get treatment. I had to qualify if there was a lot of candidates. There were people who had money and there were people who didn't have money. And what can I do to help a person who has no money? What we've seen through the end of the Chief for Life status, of police reform, of charter reform, and of the various things, finally neighborhood councils, is the grassroots of democracy are growing. Last year, despite enormous, and the most powerful weapon is in everybody's hands at a computer. The internet has changed the game. That's how these elections were won. 30 people come to meetings, small groups, a lot of action. But I'm seeing email strings of 65, 70 people really talking about how we fix one aspect or another of this city. They're working together in all kinds of groups. The groups are beginning to coordinate. What we need, and I think all the suggestions are valid, public financing, that would be a great step. To creating some balance, but there's really only one thing that I believe will change, and that's full and total, complete, 100% public disclosure in real time, instantaneously. You give them any kind of money over $100 or whatever, and you got to disclose your interest. You got to disclose your connections. You got to disclose your access. Access is the euphemism for bribery, except only idiots would say, I'll give you this if you give me that. You don't have to do that. And the truth is it's not one contribution. It's not even Tim Lewicki from AEG giving $1 million to the mayor's this campaign or that campaign. The mayor has 8 campaigns that raise fortunes of money to influence the public debate, all to serve his own political interests. But it's not bought that simply. It's bought because if any of these people decided one day, I'm going to really stand up for the people in my neighborhood, no more selling out bad plans, developments that hurt my neighborhood. I'm no longer going to do anything. I'm no longer going to approve sweetheart contracts with unions. I'm no longer going to play the political game. How much money do you think they get for their re-election campaign? They'd be like any of us out there getting $100 here and maybe getting a few thousand. The disparities are so great that they have no choice. And they're all, I think 12 or 13 are in fact people who are politicians. by their whole careers. They've operated in that game. It's almost impossible to beat an incumbent. It might take you, if you could write a check for $1 million, you might be able to beat an incumbent. I think that's changing thanks to the internet. As a journalist, what we would do, if we knew there was a scandal, there was really dirty business, we would go through all the campaign records, hard as they are to find. Nobody discloses anything. Names don't tell you anything unless you already know the names. And you're right, they gave $8,500. Well, that didn't buy CIM Group tens of millions of dollars in subsidies for Hollywood developments. It didn't buy Richard Morello what he got. All these people are getting it because it's all part of an overall system of selling out. Some people get access. They hire the right lobbyists. They make the right connections. They get their case understood. I think if you knew who had access to the council members and the mayor and their staffs every day within 24 hours, their calendars were all published and what the subjects were, you could make news out of that. I could show you the connections between the votes that go on here and the debates and the decisions. We'd get a picture of what's going on in the back rooms where business is really done. Because this is all a show. In the 2 years since I haven't been a newspaperman, I watch it almost every day while I'm writing and working and building my website. And it's like a movie. I make a lot of it into movies to rebroadcast on YouTube and on my blog because it's fascinating what comes out, but it's all kind of a theater. What's fascinating about the crisis facing the city is it's beginning to get unstuck. Tensions are rising. They finally realized 15 months after they knew there was a critical problem that maybe they should figure out what are the core services that we're going to try to protect while we eliminate thousands of jobs and reduce spending. All that's because they never had to pay attention before, because elections were based on cultivating moneyed interest. And the most powerful single interest in this city hall, in this city government, is the IBEW, Local 11, the DWP union. And it gets raises when we're bankrupt. It has workers paid phenomenal sums of money, and it does because its union boss, Brian Darcy, is one tough son of a gun. He's not afraid to go into negotiations and say, you give us what we want or we shut it down. No water, no power. He blackmails them. He goes before council members and makes it perfectly clear that if they get in his way, he can spend that $1 million that was mentioned to destroy their careers. I mean, that's blackmail. That's political blackmail. But there's no ethics law against that. The only way we would know it is if there was disclosure, if there was pressure, if we saw the money all the time. I don't know that we can solve it, but I do believe democracy is finally growing in LA, and it is certainly my passion and my idealism to believe that. But it is happening, and it really requires more people to get involved. People can beat money. And it is all free speech, and we all should have the right to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron.